COVID-19 has touched our lives in many ways, and one of the key concerns and questions raised by many members on the webinars, on the helpline, is do we know of any CLL patients who have been infected with COVID-19 and what has been their experience? I'm delighted to be here today with Lee Greenway to interviewing him in conjunction with Leukemia Care about his experience of being infected with COVID-19. First off, before we get into your COVID-19 story, tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you get diagnosed with CLL? What were the symptoms and circumstances?
I was diagnosed in January 2019. Basically, I think about it from the previous March. I'd started feeling quite tired, and my lymph nodes had all started to swell up, and they came up and down, and I sort of went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, you need some blood tests." So I went for blood tests, and they were thinking I had an infection of some description, and my blood test came back normal. It got towards the end of the year, and the lymph nodes, and I was getting lumps and bumps sort of on the shoulders and on my neck and face and groin. And it got to a stage where I just felt there was something else going on. And I went to the doctor again, and I got referred to the hospital. I spoke to the haematologist before I went after the blood test. She said that she wasn't too concerned. When I turned up to the appointment, she looked at me, went a little bit white, and said, "Okay, we might need to do some more tests." So I had a biopsy done on my throat, on a lump under here. That was just before Christmas. We went away on holiday, came back, and I went to see her when we got back, and she said, "Unfortunately, you've got CLL. Fortunately, it's probably the nicest one to have if you're going to have one." And I think, it was just one of those things. It was almost a relief because I just didn't know what was wrong with me. It was like literally I was tired. And I'm 55 now, 55 on the 7th. So it was all one of those things. It was like, well, we weren't expecting you to have it at this age. And when I went to the clinics, it was sort of, I was there, and I think most people sort of were a little bit older than me. But it was strange times. And now I'm at the stage where I was sort of got to sort of January, February, and I was like thinking, great, get back to work and sort of crack on with stuff. And then COVID hit, and it was like got locked down. Basically, I think my daughter came home with sort of she didn't feel very well, so we isolated her upstairs, and she, I think about 2 or 3 days later, but she didn't have a temperature or anything like that. She just felt a bit tired and a bit run down. About, I think, a few days after this, I felt a bit tired and run down. It was like, okay, well, I don't understand what's going on, but I just put it down to the drugs again, which, you have good days and bad days with them. So I was basically, for 3 weeks, I was sat on the sofa during the day thinking, oh, I'm a bit tired. And I didn't have any temperature issues. I think at some stage it went up 0.5 degree or something like that. I didn't have a cough. I didn't have really anything but the fact I was just quite tired. And then what happened after that was I lost my sense of taste and smell completely, which is a bit strange. And there was no real direction that sense of smell and taste at that stage was part of COVID. So again, taking my temperature all the time, taking my blood pressure, all that, everything was fairly normal. I was just feeling really tired. So I again, just put it down to the fact that it was just sort of something, a reaction to what the drugs that I was on, and just thinking, okay, fine. And then after about 3 weeks, I started feeling better again, and didn't think anything of it. Didn't even think that I actually had COVID at that stage, which was like, okay. So it's like, so it was probably equivalent to, I suppose, to having a nasty cold. It wasn't anything. I wasn't. My nose wasn't running. I just felt a bit run down. 3 weeks after that, my taste and smell came back. And it's not 100% yet, but it's sort of 90-95%. And about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, I had a hospital appointment for blood tests and stuff. And when I went in there, I sort of mentioned that I felt this way. And she said, "Oh, why didn't you call us?" And I said, "Well, I didn't call you because I didn't have the temperature, I didn't have a cough, and I just felt like it was the drugs. And normally you want me to call if I've got a high temperature, which I didn't have. So I just assumed that it was just the drugs, and I just took it easy and looked after myself. I went in, had a blood test, and had a phone call a couple of days later saying, well, it's good and bad news. Good news is you've got antibodies. The bad news is, well, the good news is that you haven't got it anymore. So it's like happy days. So it was almost a relief to know that I've had it, which is great, and the antibodies are present. So you sort of think, okay, that's fine, and almost it was like a relief that okay, I've had it, and but didn't really feel that it actually affected me sort of at all. Which the NHS reminded me regularly that I'm supposed to be staying at home and not going out for 3 months and seeing people, which is fine. And I did that 99% of the time. I was like, oh, well, I think I went out once during those 3 months, and just because I was getting a bit stir crazy. And you get to that stage, okay, I went out. But like now, I feel that I'm quite happy. I would quite happily go to the shops and things like that, and it's like I feel like almost like I'm safe, and it's sort of. So I think, okay, yeah, that's fair enough, and yes, I think it's more of a relief. I don't have any other underlying sort of medical conditions, so I think from that point of view, I'm lucky. My personal experience of it's not that bad, and it's just as long as you look after yourself, and I did. When I got it, I sat down and I rested and I did all the things I was supposed to be doing, but I didn't know that I had it, so. I think it was, if you look after yourself, I think that's half the battle. I think more communication is better. And the hospital are there and they want to help. And that's why they put us through all this sort of treatment, and because they want to look after us. Make sure we get through it. And I think that is a massive plus. And having the NHS, I mean, I just feel so grateful that I've recovered like I have. And it was certainly when I went to see the haematologist and they had the results back, she sort of said, well, actually, if you'd have had this sort of 10 years ago, we'd have given you 2 or 3 years to live. Now you've got sort of 35. I was like, well, that'll work.